pueblito es pequeñito, no hay muchas oportunidades o fuentes de trabajo de donde sacar dinero para sustentar día a día la vida diaria pues de uno. Es más mal pago allá, trabajas hasta a veces hasta poquito más, pero pues, obviamente no alcanza.
The H-2A program is absolutely vital to the ag industry. We don't receive any response from U.S. workers for these seasonal jobs.
Every year, thousands of hands cultivate the land that feeds the United States. But these hands aren't always those of citizens. They mostly come from across the border, mainly from Mexico, with hope and temporary visas. The U.S. is facing a growing labor shortage in agriculture. Farmers across the country are struggling to recruit and retain domestic workers. Agricultural jobs are not appealing to U.S.-born workers because they are physically demanding and do not offer a career ladder. Farmers have had to increase farm wages, but these compensation increases have not been enough to attract domestic workers. At the same time, in Mexico, wages and job opportunities are low. Families struggle to put food on their tables, and people have to make a difficult choice, to leave home and search for a better opportunity to provide.
Viene uno nervioso y triste y alegre, todos son sentimientos muy encontrados. Uno ha aprendido a sobrellevar todo esto, pues, no es solamente de que todo sea tristeza o algo, o sea, es algo de superación personal y de la familia.
Dejar los hijos y la esposa es el punto más difícil. Todo lo demás, el trabajo es cansado, pero todo tiene soluciones, ¿no? Pero el dejar a los hijos es como que, para mí, personal, es lo más pesado que hay, tenerlos lejos.
Although the distance from home is great, the financial benefits are greater. For farmers, it is an opportunity for growth. For guest workers, it is more than an opportunity. It is a lifeline. That is why the United States has implemented the H-2A visa program.
La verdad, sí, los beneficios son muchos de estar aquí porque también mi familia depende de mí, mis padres. Todavía los tengo y pues sí, es una muy buena oportunidad porque pues no es comparado nada con México. Aquí siquiera tenemos un sustento para la familia.
The H-2A program allows farm employers who anticipate a shortage of workers to fill seasonal farm jobs by employing foreign guest workers. The roots of today's H-2A visa program go back more than 80 years, to 1942 with the launch of the Bracero program. This program was established during World War II to address a labor shortage in agriculture due to the war effort. Over the 2 decades that followed, this program brought more than 4 million braceros, or manual laborers, legally from Mexico into the U.S. on short-term labor contracts. In 1952, new legislation introduced the H-2 visa program, which was later split into 2 categories, the H-2A for temporary agricultural workers and the H-2B for other occupations such as hospitality or landscaping. Nationwide, the number of H-2A workers has increased in the past 18 years, going from over 48,000 positions certified in 2005 to more than 378,000 in 2023. Now let's take a closer look at the H-2A program in Nevada. Nevada is one of the top sponsor states for H-2A labor, especially during the peak of harvest seasons. In fact, the state hired more than 4,500 H-2A guest workers in 2024. Peri Sons Farms, located in Urrington, Nevada, is one of the country's top H-2A employers. With over 2,600 employees during the harvest season, Peri Sons fills 73% of the H-2A jobs in Nevada.
Peri Sons has been utilizing the H-2A program since it came into existence. Well, one, there was no way to satisfy the labor needs of the company without it. Farmers across the country are using the H-2A program more and more, and the numbers are going up dramatically in the last 10 years in terms of farming operations utilizing the H-2A program, and it's largely due to what we've already talked about, which is that to satisfy the labor needs of farms, there's no alternative but to utilize the H-2A program.
Nevada, like many states in the country, has the lands and tools to feed its people, but it lacks one essential component: workforce.
I've said in the past, the policy decision is you either import food from another country or you import ag labor. And food security is a national security issue.
You advertise to get workers, they're just not available. Even in the large farming areas, we're having the same issue now. Central Valley, Imperial Valley, still can't find enough ag workers. So we're having to bring them in there too.
In order to hire foreign workers through the H-2A visa program, farms like Peri Sons must follow a complex hiring process, including multiple steps to ensure fair treatment of both foreign and domestic workers. In all cases, hiring preference must go to U.S. citizens. First, Peri Sons must demonstrate a shortage of available U.S. workers by actively recruiting domestically. If no qualified U.S. workers apply, they can sponsor H-2A guest workers. Even after H-2A workers are hired, they can be displaced from their jobs if U.S. citizens show up looking for work.
Another part of the H-2A program is that the jobs that are offered and taken by H-2A workers remain open to qualified U.S. workers for the first half of the H-2A contract. It's called the 50% rule. So if we brought in, for example, 50 H-2A workers to weed lettuce crops, if during the first half of their contract period qualified U.S. workers came and applied for the job, the company is obligated to hire them. And that may require the displacement of an H-2A worker, but that is the legal requirement. To my knowledge, I don't think we have ever had to displace a H-2A worker under the 50% rule.
In addition, farms are required to ensure that wages and working conditions for U.S. workers are not negatively affected by the presence of foreign guest workers. A rule called the Adverse Effect Wage Rate sets a minimum hourly wage that employers must pay H-2A agricultural workers. In addition to hourly wages, Peri Sons Farms provides housing for their employees, including laundry and kitchen facilities.
Additionally, the travel expense of H-2A workers from their hometowns to the place of employment and back.
Although some people believe that farms bring in foreign guest workers to save money, the truth is, for Peri Sons Farms, the process requires a large investment.
It's a very expensive. It does add to the cost of the farm, but Peri Sons has no alternative to meet its ag labor needs. It's probably one of the most frustrating things to hear when you're involved in agriculture is that farmers hire H-2A workers to exploit cheap labor. Well, there is no exploitation, and there is certainly nothing cheap about the H-2A program.
But as costly and complicated as it is, for Peri Sons, it also provides a consistent, dependable, and skilled workforce that otherwise cannot be obtained. For Peri Sons workers, it means housing, transportation, and enough income to support families back home.
Es que tan solo se puede decir que uno gana 10 veces lo que ganara en México. En México hay para vivir, pero no para hacerte de un vehículo, hacerte de poder salir, poder pasear.
Beyond the benefits for employers and employees, the H-2A program supports local communities and the national agricultural industry. It helps maintain stable food production and supply chains, playing a critical role in protecting U.S. food security amid labor shortages and growing demand. But although farms that employ H-2A workers provide job opportunities, agricultural growth, and mobilize the local economy, they still face criticism and misconceptions from the general public. Let's review some of the myths that surround the H-2A program and the guest workers.
Foreign farm workers make money here in the U.S. and send it all back home. They aren't supporting our community.
The H-2A workers come here to make money, and a lot of that money is sent home. But there is a tremendous amount of the wages that are put back into the economy here in Mason Valley. So whether that's at the local grocery store, the local convenience stores, other vendors who sell clothes and basic necessities. The H-2A workers spend a lot of money in this community that helps the local economy. And there are a number of businesses here I am absolutely certain would not exist if the farms did not exist, if the ag labor was not here.
Foreign farm workers are unskilled laborers. Anyone can do this work.
A lot of people like to characterize farm workers as unskilled labor, and it's really not a fair and accurate portrayal of farm workers. They are skilled, and they understand how the farm operates, and so there's definitely a benefit that Peri Sons obtains by having its workers come back year after year. We can't just simply pluck someone off the street and tell them to go irrigate vegetable crops or do chemical applications in other crops and things like that. There is a body of knowledge and training that must be possessed by the worker, and that's another important reason why we bring the workers back year after year.
Pues aquí nos han dado la oportunidad de aprender muchas cosas, en los tractores, hacer cosas diferentes que allá uno pues, no conocía, y nos han dado la oportunidad aquí de ir aprendiendo cosas que pues quizás nos sirvan más adelante.
There are many able-bodied, unemployed adults in the U.S. who should do this work. Foreigners are stealing our jobs.
I live in a farm town. I have young children. When I drop them off at school, I don't tell them to study hard so that they can hand clip onions or lettuce a few months out of the year. It's not because I don't respect that work. I respect it immensely. The workers who do the field work provide me with the job that I have. But if my kids living in this farming community are not going to do the ag work, and I venture to say anyone watching this video is not aspiring for their children to be seasonal farm workers. So if your children aren't going to do it and my children aren't going to do it, who's going to do it? It will be foreign workers who want to come to the United States to make good wages for a period of time and return home so that for 3, 4, 5 months of work, they can provide for their families year-round at a level that they simply cannot do if they work in their home countries.
These workers just wanted a way in. Now that they are here, they're going to stay illegally.
And really the H-2A program has nothing to do with immigration. I know it was enacted under the Immigration and Nationality Act, but it really is not about immigration. It's about ag labor. It's really a business issue, food security issue. The workers come temporarily and return home.
Contrary to some public fears, H-2A workers are not able to stay in the United States, and many don't even want to. Their dreams lie at home, with the families they miss dearly, and communities they hope to uplift with the opportunities they earn here.
En México hay unos eventos que se llaman jaripeo. Sueño con tener eso y poder recibir ingresos en México. Tengo los principios, pero me faltan unos cuantos años de trabajo para formar una propia empresa en México y que logre funcionar.
Empecé también mi casita, ya casi la termino, gracias a Dios. Eso es de venir para acá y pues de ahí pues ya nadie te saca de algo tuyo, ¿no?
Eventually, all farm operations will be automated. There will be no need for the H-2A program.
The crops that we grow, there's nothing in the pipeline right now that can replace the human worker. To handle a fresh tomato that's hand-picked, vine-ripe, you need to have a real gentle machine, or to pick a strawberry or a blackberry. So you go shopping, I'm sure, to buy groceries and buy produce, and you're looking for the smashed up stuff, or you're looking for the pretty stuff. Our eye buys, and we are a very, very picky society.
Mechanization, often seen as a solution, simply isn't realistic for crops like onions that require the delicate touch of skilled hands. The H-2A program is essential to the survival of American farms, but it is not without its challenges. Because their visa status is tied to a single employer, H-2A workers can be especially vulnerable to exploitation. Guest workers from across the nation have reported challenges such as poor housing and working conditions, pressure to meet production quotas, lack of ability to protest or advocate for improvements, and the threat of firing or being blacklisted from future opportunities if they speak up. For farmers, the H-2A recruitment and hiring process can be costly and administratively complex. Proposed changes at the federal level are creating additional uncertainty about what the future of the H-2A program will look like, making it more difficult for farmers to plan for coming seasons. But regardless of future program changes, for farms like Peri Sons, the H-2A program isn't a choice, it's a necessity. Without it, fields would go unharvested, food supplies would shrink, and rural communities would suffer.
If the H-2A program did not exist, Peri Sons Farms would not exist as it does today. It would not. And there are many other farming operations that would not exist as they do today. American farmers can feed the American people, but to do so, they have to have ag labor.